At this very first Science Week of the CGIAR, AfricaRice has highlighted the need for the right rice policies. As you know, Africa is spending more than $6 billion of US dollar on rice imports annually. In this regard, AfricaRice is working with the NARS partners, the private sector, and the beneficiaries to develop the policies which are conducive to investing in the rice sector, also including the capacity of these NARS partners and making sure that the investments which are done in the rice sector lead to the competitiveness of the sector, including supporting the youth and the women enterprises.
During the 2025 CGIAR Science Week, AfricaRice Center was able to highlight a program entitled Transformative Breeding. So this program, this project is very important to Africa. You know, Africa is the continent where the population is growing almost every day. And when you look at the projection in the 10-year or 20-year, it will be the continent where the population will be more important in terms of size compared to others. It's also the continent where rice is becoming a more important food for the population. It's a staple food for many countries in Africa. Therefore, the only way we will ensure that we will change the tendency, reduce the import of rice, and then increase the local rice production, is to invest massively in rice breeding in Africa.
Nutri-rice is AfricaRice's solution to Africa's malnutrition crisis. This is ordinary rice that has been enriched with zinc, iron, calcium, and folate and other vitamins, besides vitamin B2. You know, using scientific approaches like biofortification, parboiling, nutrient solutions, as well as fortified kernels, we have made rice a rich product where it can be suitable for home consumption, school feeding programs, and the general population. We can reach millions of people with this crop, with this into rice, because a lot of people are now consuming rice. And so we are calling on all to invest in this solution to really address the crisis of malnutrition across Africa.
At this CGIAR Science Week, we feature several innovations, and Smart Valleys approach is one of them. It's a participatory approach for land and water development in inland valleys. It combines farmers' knowledge with technical knowledge to improve water control in inland valleys. I mean, it's an important approach that can help to achieve rice self-sufficiency in Africa because it helps to double farmers' yield from 2 to 4 tons per hectare, and also preserve biodiversity ecosystem services. There is a need for a massive scaling of the Smart Valleys approach in Africa. That will include the development of a compoundrum that develops clearly the approach, but also the impact, the bundling of Smart Valley with other innovation like the use of high-yielding varieties, site-specific fertilizer recommendations, the scaling of Smart Valley, particularly through financing model, for instance, by diverting part of the large-scale irrigation fund to the Smart Valleys approach development, which is more sustainable, but also by partnering with development organizations for using business model to scale a Smart Valleys approach. Last, also, there is a need for partnering with other CG and non-CG organizations like World Vegetable Center, EME, and IFDC for optimizing water use, for improving the diversification with vegetable, but also for improving fertilizer use in inland valleys. So that's a very great approach, and that we had the opportunity to further at this Science Week. And definitely with Science we can, and then we have seen this at this Science Week. That was great.
The African continent is facing huge challenges on self-sufficiency of rice. The continent is already importing 20 million tons, and in the coming 10 years, up to 2023, it will have to import 30 million tons if we don't increase the production of rice. So AfricaRice has the mandate given by all the African continents of the entire African continent to help them to produce more rice of a better quality. AfricaRice, of course, cannot do it all, so that's why we partner with all these countries. We have a NARS network in these countries who are our extending arms into the countries to have impact with our technologies. So rather than us trying to bring the technologies to the farmers, we network with our NARS in African countries so that together we can transfer the knowledge and the technologies to the farmers. We can't do it all, so we have to prioritize. And AfricaRice is prioritizing 4 intervention areas, as we call them. Basically, one is what I just mentioned on the policy and capacity building. With the governments, we need to support them in policy making. With the NARS, we should strengthen the capacity building so that we can have impact at scale in these countries. That is, let's say, our vehicle for having impact. Now, the impact is about 3 technology areas. One is, of course, to produce more rice, and breeding is one of the main drivers for increasing the yield and the productivity. We have a transformative breeding program where we do not only breed for varieties, but we also look into the factors that help the adoption of those varieties by farmers. The second area is that we also work on improving the nutritional quality of rice. When you mill rice, you lose much of the nutrients. So we use a methodology called parboiling, where we let the nutrients enter the grains of the rice again. Another thing that we can do there is through what we call biofortification, by breeding for varieties with higher nutrient concentrations like zinc or iron. We can combine that with what we call agronomic fortification, so you apply the zinc or the iron through fertilizers to have a higher concentration in the grains. So that is our second technology on the quality of the rice. And then the third one is on the production system. The African continent has a lot of undulating landscapes. So the land goes up and down, and in the valley bottom you can grow rice. Farmers are growing rice. At the sides of the slope you grow vegetables, and then you have maize, legumes and other crops. So it's a very diverse system, also with trees and birds, everything together. AfricaRice has experience in over 200 valleys, inland valleys, to increase the rice production from 2 to 4 to 5 tons per hectare. Now, that experience in 200 valleys is important, but we have to scale it to 40 to 50,000 valleys on the African continent to produce 30 million tons more rice. So the massive scaling of this methodology, called smart valleys, is something that will be emphasized by AfricaRice. So here we are at the Science Week of the CGIAR. And AfricaRice is one of the sister organizations of 15 CGIAR centers. Clearly we have a large mandate. Clearly we have an important role to play in areas of food security, poverty reduction, climate resilience, enhancing climate resilience in our food production systems. So we are presenting our role in the collective, because we cannot do it all alone. For instance, in the smart valleys, we need institutions that work on vegetables, on legumes, on maize, on nature conservation, etc. So this is what we are presenting at the Centers Week, to work together with our partner institutions.
With science we can.
With science, we can.
With science, we can.
With science, we can.
With science, we can't.